Now I think more people have joined, so yeah, I'll just say what we have done till now. So in CFD, so we have just given some introduction. So we have seen domain discretization and all. Just the basic introduction. In CFD, the basic stuffs that we do is first we discretize the domain, then we discretize the equations, then we solve for the discretized equation at the discrete points in the domain. And then we see the results. So this is what is actually done in CFD. So depending on the type of discretization, that is depending on the type of domain discretization, we have different methods like finite element, finite volume, and so on. So depending on the type of equation discretization, we'll be having numerical schemes developed based on each of the methods that I've told earlier. So all are interdependent. So we have seen this stuff last time. So I guess I've sent you this stability analysis, that is von Neumann stability analysis. Just by pointing out where we have mistaken last time. So is that fine? Or shall we go through it again?
Ma'am, we'll go through it.
Okay, fine. Okay. So now, yeah, we'll anyways be seeing stability later on. So that was just an introduction. So now we'll be seeing how to first discretize any equation. If you are given some differential equation, how will you convert it into a difference equation to solve them at discrete points? So you need a difference equation out of the discrete differential equation. That is, you know the difference between differential equation and difference equation, I guess. So differential equation is just anything that has ordinary differential operators or partial differential operators, which are continuous operators. Difference equation is something that is written on discrete space on just some random discrete points. So wherein you'll have ui plus 1 ui and so on. So we'll discretize the continuous x space into some discrete space with some specific number of points. So you will convert your differential equation, which is written on the continuous space, into a difference equation that can be written on a discrete space. So last time we have seen some of the basic kinds like forward difference, backward difference, and central difference. So those are some of the ways to convert your differential operators into difference operators. Now we'll see more elaborately on how to write a difference equation if you are given some differential equation. For that, you'll have to take each of the operators separately, each of the terms in your differential equation. For example, here you have four different terms in this equation. So how will you write each of these terms separately in difference format? Each of these terms, this is a third order differential operator, whereas this one is a second order differential operator. So now we'll see how to write each of these operators in terms of difference operators, provided you'll have some requirements, right? You'll have some requirements of accuracy, consistency, and all. So if you want to have some scheme for this differential equation of some accuracy, so you'll have to replace these differential operators in this equation by some difference operator which is of the same accuracy that you require for your whole scheme. That is, if you replace this d cube by dx cube term by some difference operator, that should have the same. If suppose if for the whole scheme you require some order h squared accuracy, then you'll have each term should have order h squared accuracy. That is, if you will be replacing this differential operator by difference operator, right? That difference operator should be of order h squared accuracy with respect to this differential operator. So this is what you will be doing. So for that, first to develop some scheme for this differential equation of some order of accuracy, you'll have to first write each of these differential operators in terms of difference operators of the same order of accuracy. So suppose let's say that we need a backward in space kind of operator, difference operators for the whole of for each of the terms in this differential equation. So for u it's just ui, you can replace u by just ui, the same point. For du by dx you can replace it by ui minus 1 by delta x. So this is something that we have seen last time. This is backward in space. So now d squared u by dx squared and d cube u by dx cube should also be replaced by some backward in space operators, which have some specific order of accuracy that you require. So let's not talk about accuracy right now. So let's just see how to replace each of these terms by some difference operators which are backward in space. So backward in the sense, if you want to solve at the point ui, you are only going to consider the points like ui minus 1, ui minus 2 and so on. You are not going to consider the points like ui plus 1, I plus 2 and so on. So you will be considering only the points that are to the left of the point that you are right now. So that is backward in space. So forward in space in the sense, you will be considering all the points that to the right of the point that you are right now. So central in the sense, you will be considering points from either sides. So now to construct some difference operator for each of these terms, we'll go through some other different route, because obtaining this thing was quite simple. Obtaining some difference expression for first order differential operator was quite simple. Uh, I mean, you'll again employ this Taylor series expansion, but in a quite different way. So now let's go through that. So that method is known as this method of undetermined coefficients. So we'll see how to select, how to, evaluate these difference operators for any, if you are given some differential operator, how to evaluate some difference operator for that. That is what you are going to see right now. So first of all, you need to choose some stencil points. So let's say I'm choosing here ui minus 1 and ui minus 2. So this is just an example. So I'll be going through the same example throughout this. So I'll be using just these 3 points everywhere. So since we have already told we are going to do backward in space, I'll be using only these 3 points right now. If you want, we can add more points as well, but right now let's just consider only these 3 points. So first, the method starts with identifying some stencil points. So that's what we have done. We have identified some stencil points. So now we need to do Taylor expansion for each of these points. That is for ui, let's say for just, let's start from the bottom. So now Taylor expand ui, it's here I have written the terms ui minus 1 and ui minus 2, and here I have written each of the terms in the Taylor series expansion. So you will always have, for all of these, you will have these terms, and so on, it goes and so on. But for each of these, the coefficients will be different depending on what displacement you have over here. So for ui, you'll have only 1 in place of ui, and rest others will be 0. For ui minus 1, you'll have 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1 alternatively, because here it's the displacement is ui, the distance between ui and ui minus 1 is minus h. So you have minus 1 here, and when you put here, I mean, you got it right. Is there any problem over here?
No, we understood.
Okay, fine. So here this is ui minus 2 has this kind of expansion. So because the displacement between the distance between ui and ui minus 2 is minus 2h, and you put minus 2 here as the coefficient because you already have h. Here again it will be 4h squared by 2 factorial, and you put 4 here, and the coefficient comes here. So you just first expand each of these terms this way. Now so as of now, you take the stencil points, identify some stencil points, and Taylor expand each of them in this way. Now you need to consider some weights. So I'm just multiplying each of these terms by the coefficients a, b, and c. So to ui minus 2, I'm multiplying it by a, and ui minus 1 by b, and ui by c. So I'm multiplying each of these by some coefficients. So in that case, the whole of this row will get multiplied. So now adding them all and putting it at the bottom. So this whole thing is going to be something like this. And when you add the terms in this column, So you'll get a plus b plus c into ui. And when you add the terms here, you'll get minus 2a minus b into h du by dxi. And the same here, 4a plus b into h squared by 2 factorial d squared u by dx squared, and so on. You can continue this up to the level that you want. So I'm stopping it right here. So now you have some expression. The bottom one is I'm writing the bottom one in a proper equation format. So it's going to be something like this: aui minus 2 plus bui minus 1 plus cui equals all of these things, sum of all of these things. First we have, this is a similar Taylor expansion only. So now you are going to write it in a compact way, that's it. So is it clear until this? You can stop me anytime, okay? So we have written an expansion for each of these terms, and we have obtained some expression of this kind. So now this is a scheme. Suppose if we want this term to approximate h du by dx, that is this term, what do we need? So in that case, we need a plus b plus c to be equal to 0 and minus 2a minus b to be equal to 1. So these are the requirements. So suppose if we want this expression to approximate our differential operator du by dx, then we need these conditions. So by taking these so now we have obtained the conditions. So solving them, we find that b equals minus 1 minus 2a, and from that we get minus a plus c equals 1. So now this can have multiple solutions. You see it, right? When you have minus a plus c equals 1, I just took c equals 1 by 2 and a equals minus 1 by 2, but still you can take a equals minus 1 by 4, you can take a equals minus 1 by 4 and c equals 3 by 4 and so on, something like that. Is it? Yeah, you can have multiple solutions actually. You can just take a equals minus 1 completely and c equals 0. That case it will also be a solution. So you can have multiple solutions for this expression. So I've just taken one of these solutions out of that. So which is c equals 1 by 2 and a equals minus 1 by 2. So now using this, I'm finding b. I already have an expression for b. So using that, I'm finding b, and that turns out to be 0. So now you have found all the coefficients a, b, and c. So now these coefficients satisfy these two equations. So obviously when you substitute a, b, c in this expression, this term is going to go to 0 and this term will go to 1. So rest of the terms you will have to evaluate. That is, rest of the coefficients you have to evaluate from the values you have obtained for a, b, and c. So now when you do that, I have substituted the terms over here. That is, here I have written aui minus 2 plus bui minus 1 plus cui equals first term, that is a plus b plus c goes to 0, a plus b plus c into ui, so that goes to 0, and we have minus 2a minus b into h du by dx, so that is 1 into h du by dx. So we have something like this. And when you evaluate the other term, which is 4a plus b, that turns out to be minus 2. So I've put minus 2 into h squared by 2 factorial into d squared u by dx squared. So now from this you can obtain a scheme. So which is something like this: du by dx equals ui minus 2 by 2h plus, I'm taking this goes to the other side, so you'll get something like this, and you are dividing it all by h. So from this expression you can obtain h du by dx, and when you divide by h you will get du by dx. So from then you now you can see that the differential operator du by dx has been approximated by a difference operator plus some truncation error. So that is of order h now. So it's the truncation error. So now what you have obtained is a first order accurate backward difference scheme for solving du by dx. That is for approximating du by dx using the three stencil points that you have chosen. So now this is one kind of approximation. So right now we have solved only a plus b plus c equals 0 and minus 2a minus b equals 1. Suppose you can see that we have three variables over here and we only have two equations, and we already saw that there were multiple solutions possible for this expression. So instead of choosing some random solution out of the multiple solutions, we choose that one solution by by trying to improve the accuracy. So can you suggest me some way of doing that, of obtaining an extra equation? That is, I already have two equations. So now, suppose if I add another equation, I want to improve the accuracy. So can you suggest me some way of doing that?
Ma'am, we can take the higher order terms, right?
Yeah, we can take the higher order terms. That's good. So now we need to look at the next terms. That is the next highest term, which is order h squared term. So which that has the coefficient 4a plus b. So now we are trying to make that to be equal to 0. So if we do that, this term will also be equal to 0, and the system will have only this non-zero coefficient term, and then we have one order. I mean, one order will be improved. Earlier we had order h, now we'll be having order h squared. So we'll see how it's being done. So we take another equation. So along with the first two equations, that is a plus b plus c equals 0 and minus 2a minus b equals 1, we take another expression, 4a plus b equals 0. So now we can solve and find a unique solution. So we can solve these two to get a equals 1 by 2 and b equals minus 2, and when we substitute that back into the first equation, we can obtain the value for c, that is 3 by 2. So now we have obtained some unique solution. So now this solution satisfies all the three equations. Now we are trying to evaluate the other term, that is minus 8a minus b, that is the coefficient of h cube term. So when we try to evaluate that, it turns out to be minus 2. So now substituting all these values for a, b and c into our earlier expression, the big one. So now that expression now becomes to be of some form like this. So we have substituted a, b and c over here. That is, we have now au minus a into ui minus 2 plus b into ui minus 1 plus c into ui. So that is equal to, here a plus b plus c equals 0. So this term is 0. And here minus 2a minus b is 1. So we have kept it as such. The next term we have made 0 by taking 4a plus b equals 0. And the next term we have the coefficient minus 2 over here. So now if you take du by dx on the other side and you find the expression, you get this difference operator for du by dx, and you get this as the truncation error. When you divide this term by h, you get h squared. So now the truncation error is of order h squared. So now this way you have obtained a second order accurate backward difference scheme just by doing some simple algebra. So now for this, can we further improve the accuracy by making the coefficient of next term 0? That is, suppose if you make the coefficient of this order h cube term also 0, can you do that in order to improve the accuracy? Is it possible to do that?
We already have three equations with three unknowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be over constrained.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we cannot further do it. Suppose if we can do it if this equation, this minus 8a minus b equals 0 is um, overlapping with 4a plus b equals 0. Suppose the equation that we get from here and from here overlap, that is, if they represent the same geometry, the same line or something like that, then we may have a solution. Otherwise we may not have. Mostly we may not have. So in this case, obviously we will not have, because these two equations are not even parallel. So we are not going to have solutions. So we'll go through that clearly. So now I'm trying to make each of these terms. So first term has to be 0. That is, from this we are getting this expression, and from here we are getting minus 2a minus b equals 1. And from here it's this equation, and from I'm just trying to see if it can be possible. So I'm taking this also as equal to 0. So now we have three equations with two unknowns. I'm not just looking at the first equation because that is quite different from the other three. So let's just look at the last three equations. So here we have three equations and two unknowns. So I'm just writing them in augmented form and just obtaining the echelon form out of this. So we can see that we have one equation. In the last row, we have 0, 0, 2. So this essentially says that 0a plus 0b equals 2, and which is not possible at all. So this system does not have a solution. We may have a solution if this turns out to be 0. So that's what I said when I was talking about being the lines being parallel and all. So suppose if we have this term to be 0, then we may have solution. So it's not always that we'll not have solution at all. It depends, but mostly for these things, anyways, by looking at it, we can say that they're not even parallel. So we will not have solution at all. So yeah. In this case, we won't be having any solution, so we cannot further improve the accuracy. So, okay. And also, if we select the first two equations, we cannot have solution for this, but we can have solution only if we have two of these equations out of these three. So how do we select just two equations out of these three, depending on suppose if we select the first two equations, then we got a second order accurate scheme. Suppose if we select the first equation and third equation, what will we get? Suppose if we ignore this second equation and only consider the first and third equation, what will happen? I mean, what kind of scheme will we get? We'll be able to solve it for sure, but what will be the order of accuracy of that scheme?
I think first order accurate.
Yeah, it will be first order accurate. Fine. Yeah, we'll get a first order accurate scheme. So the reason is that we have only made the other two equal. We have only satisfied these two, but when we satisfy these two, it doesn't mean that we satisfy this. That is 4a plus b won't be equal to 0. So that will contribute to order h term, and that will anyways be there. So the scheme will only be first order accurate. So the thing that we need to take away from here is the following. So when the number of equations is less than the number of unknowns, then we can always go about taking additional equations by making the coefficients of the next least order terms we go about doing it for the higher order terms, but we out of those higher order terms we consider the least order term and then make it 0. We cannot randomly take any higher order terms, so we start from the least order of the truncation. Out of those terms that we leave, we start from the least order term and then make the coefficient of that to be 0 to improve the accuracy. You cannot just randomly select any terms. So this is the essential takeaway from here. So is it clear for everyone? Any doubts? Any doubts?
No doubt.
Okay. So now, as of now, we have talked about, out of these three equations, we have talked about leaving either of the equations. So suppose if we leave the first equation, what will happen? That is, suppose if we leave out minus 2a minus b equals 1, and then what if we go about solving the other two alone? Then what will happen? I mean, are we essentially solving anything? Are we essentially finding anything then? So in this case, we'll only be getting a equals 0, b equals 0, and c equals 0. So we'll only be getting 0 equals 0. We'll not have some term, because the term corresponding to our differential operator, that is du by dx, the coefficient of that itself is 0. So you're not going to get anything out of that expression. So you'll only essentially get an identity equation. So from that, we cannot get a different scheme. So this is what it is. So now, as of now, we have seen about approximating du by dx by using the same stencil points ui minus 2, ui and ui minus 1. Yeah. So now, suppose if we want to approximate d squared u by dx squared, that is h squared by 2 factorial d squared u by dx squared, then what is going to happen? So in that case, you have a big expression. Okay. So the same old expression, it's not a big expression at all, it's the same old expression. So initially we took this to be 0 and this coefficient to be 1, and then we improved the accuracy. Now we need to make a plus b plus c to be 0 and minus 2a minus b to be equal to 0. And then we need to make 4a plus b also to be equal to 1. So we already have obtained 3 equations. So from this we can actually make a to be not make, you actually solve for it and find a to be 1 by 2 and b to be minus 1, and then you substitute them back, you get back in the first equation and you obtain the value for c, that is 1 by 2. So now you have obtained the expressions, and now you have obtained the solutions for a, b and c, and these solutions can now when you substitute them back in the above equation, you get something like this. So the first two terms go to 0 and the next term becomes h, just whose coefficient we have made the coefficient of this d squared u by dx squared to be just 1 into h squared by 2. So we have something like this, and when you evaluate minus 8a minus b, that turns out to be minus 3, and you substitute that here. So you have something like this. So now you can find an expression for this differential operator d squared u by dx squared. So in that case, you get some expression of this kind. So now your leading order term is h. The coefficient of the leading order term is h. So now your truncation error is of order h. So you have obtained a first order accurate scheme for your second order differential operator using the same stencil points I minus 2, I minus 1 and I. So now for this, for approximating d squared u by dx squared, can you improve the accuracy further? Is it possible for you to make it order h square and so on here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Why?
Ma'am, because again we already have 3 equations.
Fine. Yeah. Good. So we already have 3 equations. We already found these values uniquely. So we don't have any more options. So this is the only possible accuracy. From these 3 stencil points, the maximum accuracy that you can obtain for d squared u by dx squared is order 1, order h. So now the takeaway from this is, if you are given some number of stencil points, and if you try to obtain the difference expression for some specific differential operator, say du by dx or d squared u by dx squared, then the order of accuracy that you can get for each of them is limited. So there is some limit to the maximum order of accuracy that you can obtain for some specific differential operator by using some specific number of stencil points. So for du by dx it was order h squared, and for d squared u by dx squared it's order h. So now what will you do to improve the order of accuracy? Now with this way you cannot further improve the order of accuracy. Then what other way do you have to improve the order of accuracy?
We can consider more points.
Yeah. So instead of just the 3 points, you can add in more points to improve the order of accuracy. So that is the only possible way. So if you want to improve the accuracy further, then you have to go about thinking in this direction. That is, you need to increase your stencil size. So that will have further complications. So let's not talk about all those right now. So now it's just this. When you have to improve the accuracy beyond some limit, then you need to increase your stencil size. So now the next question is, can you obtain a difference equation for d cube u by dx cube just by using the same 3 stencil points? Is it possible for you to approximate d cube u by dx cube?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. Why?
Ma'am, then we'll be solving 4 equations.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So the reason is the same for all the questions. So you'll always have more equations coming in if you want to go further away. So you cannot solve for d cube u by dx cube here. So now, because in that case, you need to make the first three terms to be the coefficients of first three terms. That is, a plus b plus c must be 0, then minus 2a minus b must be 0, and 4a plus b must be 0. Along with that, you need minus 8a minus b to be equal to 1. So you'll have 4 equations for which you will not obtain any solution. So just by using 3 stencil points, you cannot solve for d cube u by dx cube. So the thing is, if you are given some number of stencil points, then the maximum different order of the differential operator that you can obtain, for which you can obtain the difference operator, is limited. So here you can obtain the difference operator only for du by dx and d squared u by dx squared. So you cannot obtain the difference operators for higher order differential operators using just 3 points. So in that case, what will you do now? Again, so suppose if you want to have difference operators for higher order differential operators like d cube u by dx cube and so on, then what will you do?
Ma'am, consider more points.
Yeah, the same thing. Consider more points. That is. So you always have to end up increasing your stencil size for this reason. So now, yeah, I think we have made enough arguments about this. So if you want to improve accuracy beyond some point, then you have to take more points. Also, if you want to find your difference operators for higher order differential operators beyond some point, then you have to consider more stencil points. So similarly, as of now, we have seen only backward differencing. That is, we have only considered I minus 1, I minus 2, and so on. So similarly, you can do the same for forward difference operators. Like you can have I plus 1, I plus 2, and so on. And similarly, we can also have central differencing operators. So now, why did we do so much? So it's like here, if you are given some ODE or PDE, you will have some differential operators. So in that, you can replace the differential operators by some difference operators that you are going to obtain in this way. So let's say you are given a PDE or ODE and you have some differential operators in that. And if your requirement is to use only backward differencing or the backward stencil points, or also if your requirement is to have some specific order of accuracy for the whole equation, then you have to find your difference operators for each of the differential operators with that specific order of accuracy that you require through this method. And then you replace each of your differential operator by the difference operators and then solve for ui using that expression that you'll be getting. So essentially you are converting your differential equation into a difference equation of some order of accuracy by using this method. So basically you're only identifying the difference operators of some order of accuracy using this method. When you're given an equation, you're going to substitute that in place of the differential operator and you proceed further with your solution. So this is something you require to convert your differential equation into a difference equation. So now, yeah, one caution is that you may obtain different numerical schemes when you do this. So not all schemes may be stable. Stability is another question. So as of now, we have not seen stability, but not all schemes that you're going to develop in this way are going to be stable. So stability is a different question. We'll come on to it later. So you have to keep in mind that stability is also a factor. So you can always do this kind of, you can replace your differential operator by some some difference operator of some specific order of accuracy, and you can get some scheme that is of some order of accuracy. But that scheme may not be stable. So if you have some scheme of some order of accuracy, you can solve that, can give you a good solution or it may give you a bad solution depending on stability only. So that is a different question. So now So, okay, now the question is what happens if you increase the number of stencil points? What will happen at the boundaries? So you can always increase the stencil points in the interior of the domain. So that is not a problem. You will always have more number of points. But when you go towards the boundary, suppose if you are taking I minus 2 and I minus 3 and so on, and I mean, can anyone tell me what will happen in the boundary? What problem will you be facing in the boundaries while increasing the stencil points?
Ma'am, like if we're using a backward scheme, then at the boundary we can't get the um, like if you want to find du by dx at the boundary, but with the backward scheme we can't get it.
Yeah. So, okay. So, suppose this is your boundary. Let's say this is your boundary. Okay. This is your boundary, and you have some points over here. And there are some interior points. Suppose you are considering only I minus 2 and I minus 1 and I minus 2. You are considering only 3 points. So for some interior points, you will always, for any I, you will always be able to find some I minus 1 and I minus 2. For a point over here, for an I over here, you have this as I minus 1 and this as I minus 2. But for other stuffs, suppose you are solving for this point, say this point. Here this is your I and this is your I minus 1 and this point will be your I minus 2. What if you go further? So now what if this is your I? So this is your I minus 1. And what about I minus 2? It's not in your domain. So you don't know what actually is in the point I minus 2. So it's difficult for you to get a higher order scheme near the boundaries. So even if your scheme is of some higher order accuracy in the interior points, at the boundaries, it's not possible to obtain a higher order scheme very easily. You have to either go for some ghost node to you have to either construct some ghost nodes, that is on the outside of the boundary. You have to construct some nodes and try to evaluate the values for the solutions here, and then you can have a higher order scheme. That is, if you solve for du by dx with 3 points, then you will be getting order h squared accuracy, right? We have seen it earlier. So all of the interior points will have order h squared accuracy. But here for this I, if you want to solve for this I, then you don't know what your I minus 2 will be. So in that case, you can either construct ghost nodes or find I mean there are some methods, I mean these are some advanced techniques. So there you construct something outside and somehow evaluate those solutions based on your solution will be on the inside, or you just go for a lower order accurate scheme just at the boundaries. You can construct an order h accurate scheme, that is you can just take ui minus 1 by delta x, which is of order which is first order accurate. So just in the boundaries, you can go for lower order accurate schemes. That is also possible. So mostly the easiest way is to go for lower order accurate schemes at the boundaries. So if you don't want that, then you have to do some other construction at the boundaries to maintain the higher order accuracy of your scheme, even at the boundaries. So this is it. So when you increase the stencil size at the boundaries, then I mean when you increase the stencil size, you may face some problem at the boundaries. So that is there. So now the next question is, will the schemes that we construct in this way be consistent? So we have talked about consistency last time. So using that definition, can anyone tell me whether the schemes that we have constructed now in this way, using this method of undetermined coefficients, will these be consistent? So consistency is something like, yeah, we have talked last time, right? If you have a scheme, you replace each of those difference operators. That is, if you have some I minus 1 minus ui by delta x, you replace this ui minus 1 by the Taylor series expansion for ui minus 1 and ui by the Taylor series corresponding Taylor series expansion. So you get something like this. Sorry, this will be minus. So this is how you go about checking the consistency, right? So now this is of order delta x. So sorry, this has to be ui minus 1. Okay. Fine. So now we are getting something like this: dou u by dou x minus delta x by 2 factorial dou squared u by dou x squared, and so on. So when delta x goes to 0, this difference operator is now equal to the differential operator when your delta x goes to 0. So that is what consistency means. So now this is the consistency of this operator. For a scheme, you will do it for each and every differential operators, and then you'll check consistency. If you have both delta t and delta x, it's like both delta t and delta x going to 0. When both of them go to 0, then your difference operator must correspond to your differential operator. That is, your difference equation must correspond to your differential equation when delta t and delta x go to 0. So that is what we called as consistency last time. So now with this definition of consistency, can someone tell me whether in the way we constructed? So we have constructed your method. I mean, we have done this method of undetermined coefficients in some way. So using that, will you have this thing? Will you have consistency then? Can someone tell me whether the schemes that we construct using method of undetermined coefficients will be consistent or not?
Ma'am, I think it will be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
higher order terms would go to zero, right?
Yeah, it will be consistent. It will always be consistent because to check consistency also we use Taylor series expansion. If you note, we have started this method of undetermined coefficients by using Taylor series expansion. So it will always go to, when you make delta t and delta x go to 0, your difference scheme that you construct in this way will always be consistent with your differential equation. So because your scheme itself has some terms like h squared, it's like Taylor series expansion only because we have constructed all of this from Taylor series expansion. So when you replace each of these terms by the Taylor series expansion of those, and it's like going backward. Now we have constructed something using Taylor series expansion and we have obtained some difference equation. Checking for consistency is like going backward from there. Now you replace your difference operators in there by using the Taylor series expansion, and then you make your delta t and delta x approach 0 to see whether your difference operator can approach your differential operator. So since we have already started with the Taylor series format, it's always going to be consistent. So any good scheme is, so first, if you are constructing any numerical scheme, so first thing is it should be consistent. Then only you're essentially solving your differential equation. If not, then you're not solving the differential equation at all. So when your discrete terms, that is delta x, delta t and delta x, when they go to 0, then your difference equation must approach your differential equation. If not, then the scheme you have constructed is not a good scheme at all. So there's no point in solving using that scheme. Next is it has to have some good accuracy of some higher order, some order. Then it has to be stable. So stable is like you'll always introduce some error in some step, okay? As you proceed, that error should not grow, that error should be bounded. So you check that, but doing stability analysis for linear problems are easy, but for nonlinear problems it's not easy. So we call some scheme to be convergent, that is consistence is the difference equation approaches differential equation. Stability is error decreases, error is bounded. Okay, error that you know, anyways there will be error. That error should be bounded. It should not grow over time or as you proceed over. When you increase the number of iterations, that error that you started from the initial step should not grow. That is, it should not grow very high. It should, that growth rate should be bounded. So that is what is stability. So you have something known as convergent. So that's a scheme is going to be convergent if your numerical solution approaches, that is numerical solution is something that you obtain from the scheme, right? That should approach your exact solution when when some of the parameters like that will also have some discretized parameters, right? That should go to zero. When those parameters go to zero, your numerical solution must approach your exact solution. So that is only then your scheme is known as convergent. So there is a proof by Lax, I guess. So he has proved that for linear systems, he has proved it only for linear systems. So he has said that for linear systems, if you have a consistent and stable scheme, then that scheme is convergent. That is, the numerical solution that you obtain from a consistent and stable scheme will converge to the exact solution. So Lax has proved this for linear systems. So for non-linear systems, it's not clear as of now, but yes, people still think that if your scheme is both consistent and stable, then it may be convergent. Yes. So accuracy is something that helps us in determining diffusion. So it's almost equivalent to that. So a scheme which is of higher order accuracy has less diffusion, and a scheme which has lower order accuracy has more diffusion. So these are some common terms used in CFD. So we have seen consistency and we know what accuracy is. We'll see more about stability further. So now what I've done is I've just talked about how you can construct a consistent scheme if you are given if you are given any differential equation, how to construct a consistent scheme for that differential equation, also provided you of some order of accuracy. How will you construct a different scheme of some order of accuracy if you are given any random differential equation? So that is what we have seen now. So the scheme, as of now, you know how to construct a consistent scheme for a differential equation of some order of accuracy. So if you are given some differential equation, you will be able to construct such a scheme. So is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any doubts? Questions or comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So fine, let's stop it here. We'll meet sometime. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can always ask me. And so